forward.
Okay. So this is kind of basically what I was just talking about, just looking at, I mean, we all know we need to be keeping records. We all know we need to be tracking that. And when it comes tax time, and we just finished our taxes, and I'm going to my accountant tomorrow to get us through the next realm. But you got to know what you have in place to be able to take the next steps, and that's just crucial. So anything is better than nothing. Okay, come on. I'm even trying to hold my mouth the right way, and it's just not moving forward. So if you don't have records, you're not going to be able to monitor your progress. You're not going to be able to track all those deductible expenses. And you need to have be tracking your mileage. Every year when I sit down and do my taxes and start figuring out all these things, my tax returns are always the things that really make me remember how important it is that I am keeping track of my records. And keeping track of your receipts and going through that process, I mean, when you get into the tax time, you've got this pile of receipts there. You need to figure out a simple way to go through that. And by teaching over the course of the last 8-9 years of teaching the Sustainable Small Acreage Farming and Ranching course, one of the most consistent things I've heard from all of my students is that, well, yeah, they're getting better at saving their receipts, but tracking the expenses and going through this process is a really big challenge for them. So I've come up with some simple ways. I just keep an envelope that when I come back from wherever I've made a purchase, I stick the receipts in that envelope, and then once every couple weeks I have my book that I go through and get those receipts written down on the book and take me to the next step. And you can see the receipts there have check marks on them. Once they go into the category in the book, then I put a check mark on them. That means I know they've been written down and they're there. For sales records, we divide out our sales records. We have sales for retail, wholesale, restaurants. I have a selling produce to restaurants book. I have a CD that is on planting the garden that goes in its own category. All of our sales records are divided up by where they go. We track those invoices and the daily records of our cash, like cash in and out at the farmer's market. You just need to be tracking everything, because if you don't know what you've got, how in the world are you going to know if you're making a profit? And while we all go into farming because this is something that we absolutely love, hopefully, I mean, we didn't go into this to become a millionaire, because that's not really likely going to happen, but we do what we do because we love it, and we want to be successful at that. So really adapting whatever you can come up with for record keeping for your operation is crucial, and designating a specific person to do that. Just leaving it open isn't going to work, and maybe you'll do it and maybe I'll do it. No, I accept that responsibility. I go through that process, and we work together to do the adding. I'll put everything together in my record book, and I'll make Tom add it up, so that works well. But we keep records for everything. We save receipts for everything, and it's the only way we can know. So I'm going to move forward, and you can look at that on your handout. But maintaining those accurate, I mean, we keep saying this over and over again, and whatever way you do that. So for harvest records are another thing for us. We just keep a little spreadsheet like this. I go through, and as we're going through the season, I'm tracking everything that's harvested, the dates that it's harvested. For us, because we're certified organic, we have to have an audit trail, because we're audited every year as a part of our inspection, and a part of that, they might go to our harvest records like this and pick on August 22nd, it says we harvested 23.5 pounds of Maxabel beans, and then they want to see the records for where did those beans go. Did we sell them? Did they go on CSAs? Did they go to restaurants? If they went to a restaurant, they want to see a receipt for that. So we have that documentation. And while our apprentices, who are college students, are always here saying, you need to get this on a spreadsheet, on an Excel sheet, on your computer. Why don't we do it that instead of handwriting it? Well, I know that that's a great way to do that, but I've used the same old method. Here's a spreadsheet. I've developed an Excel spreadsheet, and that's fine. I have that here, but my computer's not in my kitchen. It's around the corner, and Craig talked about, so you need a laptop. Well, yeah, I have a laptop, and I could set that up, but when I'm working with the produce, my hands are dirty and inputting numbers, so I just do it on a paper spreadsheet, and at some time I come in and take it to the next level and input it in the computer. I know I could save a step with that, but all that matters is that I'm tracking my harvest records, I'm tracking my yields, and going through that process. I am working on improving that process. But as far as for just some simple ideas here for you, I have a portable file cabinet. I keep my folders coordinate and correspond with our tax for Schedule F when we do our taxes, so everything, and I have a book that follows that as well. So it's the most simple way of filing, and I know I could do better on it, but all that matters is that I'm doing something to track my expenses and going through that process. So every year I say I'm going to change that. I haven't done that yet. Excuse me. So the other thing that we do is, in my book, I have the same categories in my book that I write everything down. You see I've got envelopes here that with file names on each of those envelopes. That's where all the receipts go, and the receipts are checked off when they go into the book that's at the bottom there. I've organized it by specific categories that go with everything that we're doing. I can tell you that since I'm working through the business handbook, Richard Wiswall's business handbook, I am changing some of our crop enterprise and cost centers, how we're doing the recording of that. But this is just a simple system that anything's better than nothing. I mean, you got to start somewhere, and this is the bottom line, simple way to go. I mean, you have your checkbook for cash method, paper ledgers, journals, spreadsheets, computer spreadsheets, accounting software. I have QuickBooks. I've sat down and looked at that. I have not figured that out. I'm better in the field than I am on this end of it, but that's why I showed you some simple ways to do it without getting overwhelmed with, I mean, it's great. I want to get the QuickBooks happening. I want to make all that happen, but I haven't gotten around to it, and 20 years later I'm still talking about getting around to it. So maybe this year will be the year. But meanwhile, I still have my paper copies. I still have my paper notebooks, and I'm keeping that audit trail for everything that I have, because we have to have that for our organic certification, but we have to have that to know if we're doing the right thing, if we're making money or not. I mean, if you're not tracking it, how can you possibly know if you're actually making money? And that's the bottom line. That's how we're going to know what's happening here. So I'm moving fast because I really want to give Barbara more time to go through some nitty-gritty details. But I wanted to give you some simple things, and I encourage you to utilize that business handbook and the CD and DVD information that's there, and I think the rest of that information will be there for you on the Moodle site. And I think that is my last slide. Oh, that's one of Tony Carey's pigs. I just love that picture with his tongue sticking out. If we don't have any questions, we'll move on.
We actually have two questions.
Oh, okay.
And the first one is from Janice, and she's asking about record keeping. What do you do if your product sales are split between 2 fiscal years? My lambs and goats are born in the spring, grow in the summer and fall, but we sell them in the fall and winter. Sometimes we sell some to the previous year's crop in January. So this would be the 2013 crop, but I'm not finished selling until 2014. Do I do my expenses by the fiscal year,
Hmm. Boy, I mean, for the different things that we do, I've never done it with the animals, and Barbara or Craig might be able to better answer that since I I I pretty much, if it's in 2013, I divide it out. So what's in 2013 stays there. And how would you do that, Craig?
Yeah, I'm just thinking about it. Usually I um, do look at it on a year basis, but you could do it on a essentially the ones you could follow the essentially the kids through their life cycle. I mean, if it's, you don't sell them till you want to look at it as an enterprise as a whole, how much that enterprise is contributing to their overall. As you're doing a gross profit, you would almost have to incorporate the all of the kid crop for if it was sold even in 2004, 2014, because it wouldn't give you a total picture if you didn't include those animals in that gross profit and figuring out your profitability. So you do have to include those. I mean, on tax purposes, it wouldn't be in there, but on evaluated on a how profitable that enterprise is, you would have to include those animals in that because it wouldn't give you a true reflection of what your income was if you didn't include those animals.
Now, see, if we have, I haven't done that with animals because when we've done meat birds, we grow a crop, we sell them, we don't have carryover.
Right.
If I have like potting soil or garlic, sometimes I'll carry over garlic. For seed production, sometimes I'll carry over seed. I carry that over as an inventory, and I've just never done that with animals, so I can't really address that very well for you. But if we're doing it on non-animal crops, we'll divide it out, and what goes in 2013 stays there, and then it's carried over. The inventory is carried over to 2014.
Yeah. And I mean, if the animal is going to be sold, I mean, if you've got your does or your females, then that's of course just an asset. But if the animals that you're going to market as like wethers or something that are going to go into the goats that are going into the meat market side of it, you would need to look at that enterprise on the window that would provide follow those animals through their life cycle. So.
This is Barbara, and I'm going to agree with both Diane and Craig. If for tax purposes, you've got an inventory there of that you have produced, kind of like a manufacturer might make an inventory, and that affects your cost of goods sold for the year, and thus affects your taxes. But looking at it as the enterprise year is another way to do that, where for example, let's say you're raising racehorses and they take many years to raise and show any kind of a profit, or even a bull. You're going to have money invested in that animal, but you have not had any return yet, and then when you do start getting return, that could be very large. So you're looking at multiple years in analyzing that that enterprise.